All right, hey guys, so if you look over at the objectives real quick, we've got, I can remove specifics from a function so that it can be used in a variety of situations. So that's our goal for this lesson. So first, I want you to think about why would we want to make code easier to read or work with. Go ahead and pause the video, get your answer written out, and then start the video back. So really the big thing is that we don't write code just for computers. A lot of that has to do with people being able to read that as well. So we want to make sure that our code is easier to work with and read for us, for other programmers, for any other human who's going to be reading this, including future us, because that's going to help things move more smoothly as we're working on it or when we come back to it later. So that's our goal as we try to make it easier. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk through this activity real quick. And the envelopes are going to be the functions that we're making. And then inside of the envelopes are the actual instructions for that function. Post-it notes are going to be what we are giving it. So values that are getting passed to it. So we've got a cake making function here. And you see that we've got tiers, which is how many layers we're going to put into the cake. And we've got flavor, which is going to be, you know, whatever, chocolate, vanilla, lemon, whatever that is. And what we're going to do is we are going to assign those things values based on what cake we want to make. So for example, if we want to make a 3-tier cake with lemon as the flavor, then we'll put 3 where tiers goes, and we'll put lemon where flavor goes. And then we're going to flip over on the other side of the envelope, and that's going to be where the instructions for making the cake are. So let's pull that out and see what that looks like. So here are the instructions. You see, again, we've got tiers and we've got flavor, and we can use those throughout the function to tell the instructions to refer back to whatever these are, okay? So for example, we have 3 and lemon again. So anywhere we see tiers, we're going to replace that with the value 3. And anywhere we see flavor, we're going to replace that with the value of lemon. So we've got tiers here, so repeat 3 times. And then in that repeat, we've got flavor. So that's going to get replaced with lemon. We want to bake a lemon cake. We want to ice it and then go to the next step in the repeat, assemble, or we are flipping back to repeat because we want to do that 3 times. But then after we get out of that, then we're going to assemble. This was tiers, which means that we put 3 there, those 3 layers of cake together, and then put them in the box. So we replaced each of those with the values we had for tier and the value we had for flavor. So let's actually look at going through this code. So we get past make cake with value of 3 for tier and value of lemon for flavor. So we come in here, repeat 3 times because that's how many tiers we want, and lemon because that's the flavor. So we do that 3 times in the pseudocode. And then once we've done that 3 times, then we come back to continue on to the next part of the code. Tiers gets replaced with 3, and we put those 3 layers together. And then the last thing is put it in a box. Okay. So what you should recognize here is that this actually looks really familiar to what you've seen before. This is an example of a function, okay? It's a little bit different because we've got these pieces right here. Usually we've left these blanks before, but now we've got pieces here, something to give values. We call those parameters. So a parameter is a variable in a function definition, and it's a placeholder for what you pass it later on, okay? So that's a parameter. Those are the generalized terms that you put there, okay? So what you actually pass to the function, those are called arguments, okay? So those are the 2 terms that we are introducing with this current unit here, okay? So we pass the argument 3 to the parameter layers or tier, and we pass the argument lemon to the parameter flavor. Okay, so if you wanted to make a 4-layer cake that was chocolate cake, what arguments would you pass? All right, go ahead and pause video, see what you can come up with. You should have 4 for tiers and chocolate for flavor. That would get put in here whenever you call that function. So we'd have make cake 4 chocolate. And then that would make a 4-layer cake with the flavor chocolate. Okay. So let's look at another function real quick. This time, cost cake is the function. We want to calculate the cost of the cake and still have tiers and flavor as our parameters. If we pass 3 and lemon to these parameters, then we pull out those instructions from the envelope again. We want to look at what that does. This time we've got 2 variables that are made. This one is flavor cost, and we've got total. Remember back to when we did variable scope, these are local scope. So the only place that we can affect these, change the values or anything like that, are inside of cake costs function. That's the only place these 2 variables exist. Okay. Then in this middle section, it's going to determine the value of flavor cost depending on which flavor we use, and then that is dependent on that argument for flavor. And then the next part here, we've set the total. We set the total to using the flavor cost and the argument that was passed for tiers. Okay. Then what you see is this last part here, we've got a return, but I'm not so sure what that is. We haven't seen return previously. So let's kind of dive into what that return is looking at and what that does. Okay. Before we look at what return total is, I want you to go through and figure out what is flavor cost and what is total if 3 is for tier and lemon is for flavor. All right, welcome back. Should have flavor cost is 4 because lemon is going to put you into this if statement, and then total cost would be 4 multiplied by tiers, which is 3. So that return is saying return total. Okay, we've again not seen that previously, but 2 things that a return does is first stops the function. No matter where you're at, it is going to stop it. If it were inside of an if, then as long as that condition is true, then it's going to stop in that if statement. Okay, so first thing is a return will stop a function. The other thing is it will return whatever the value is. So in this case, it's going to return the value of total, which we already determined was 12. But where is it returning to? Like, that's not something we've seen previously. So what it does is wherever that function was called, it's going to place the value 12. Okay, it's going to place that value of 12. But I want you to take a moment, pause the video, see what do you think happens to that value? How do you think it's stored? Okay, so if we think back to our variable baggies, if you had a baggie called cake calculator, then cake cost could be assigned to cake calculator. Okay, then that return function will give 12 and it can store that in cake calculator. So that's one way that it can be used. The JavaScript for that would look like this: var cake calculator equals cake cost 3 lemon. Cake cost 3 lemon is going to evaluate to 12. And then because of that, cake calculator will end up storing the value 12. Okay. We can also use that in console log. So you could do console.log cake cost plus cake cost 3 lemon, and we'll get an output of cake cost, and then it evaluates to 12. So the value of 12 is displayed in the console. Okay. So key takeaways here: with functions, you have parameters and returns, and those help simplify code because you can use functions in a variety of different ways. Then functions also only have one value that can get returned. A function can have no parameters and no return values, or you could set it up to have some parameters, no return values, but no parameters, or you could have both parameters and return values. Okay, so go ahead and in your journal, jot these 3 vocabulary words down. We've got parameter, argument, and return. Okay. And then we will get into parameters, return, and evaluate those a little bit more here in the next lesson. Thank you, guys.